Hey everybody, Brian Zane here. Folks, last night the unthinkable happened. I plunked down $40 of my hard-earned money and I watched TNA's Bound for Glory pay-per-view event. I figured if this is really going to be TNA's last pay-per-view, I might as well watch it and see for myself. Quick caveat before I give you my thoughts on it. I don't watch Impact. I read the results every once in a while, so my knowledge and my background on TNA and the feuds and the matches was very limited going to this. I had very little background, very little context, and zero expectations. So let's see how this show went for me, the uneducated viewer. Things opening up with the X Division Championship match, DJZ versus Trevor Lee. For a match that was just announced on that day, I thought it was handled very well, very exciting, fun opener for the match. I thought it was a little ridiculous at times, kind of in the same sense as the Ospreay Ricochet match I talked about earlier this year. Just a lot of no-selling, these gigantic big moves. Thought the Tope, Suicide Dive, Tope, one-upsmanship between the two of them was kind of silly, but ultimately I thought it was a very entertaining match to watch. It was something you would have seen out of the Cruiserweight Classic, although I think actually this match had me more excited to watch it as I was going. I was more excited about this match than the stuff I've seen on Raw, to be perfectly honest. DJZ wins the match, he beats Trevor Lee, and he retains the title. But the one thing that stuck in my craw about the finish was he used a Canadian Destroyer as a setup move. Do you see what I mean when I said a while back that, in my opinion, the Canadian Destroyer was a terrible finisher? This is why, because now it's completely devalued, and now it's a setup move and not a devastating finisher. Bound for Gold Gauntlet match, number one contendership for the TNA Championship. Not much to say about this match. Standard Battle Royal style match. Not too many people in the match that I knew much about. Tyrus, of course, is the one I know the most about. Grado, distant second. I loved his entrance and quick exit, and the fact that he was like, oh, okay, he just dances off. And even the wrestlers in the ring were dancing to the music after he was eliminated. I thought it was hilarious. Simple match. Not the best match on the card, but still kind of fun in its own way, because Battle Royals are fun. Mike Bennett versus Moose in a really good match. I thought that Moose's entrance was a little John Cena-esque with all the football players coming out there. For a match I don't know anything about, like the story behind those two, I thought their hype package was done very well. That it did its job. For someone like me who knows nothing about the background of these two guys and why they're fighting, that's what hype packages are for. And I think that, these TNA's production values, they're pretty decent in my opinion. And I think they did a very good job telling the story. So yeah, Bennett versus Moose, a really fun match, and Moose goes over. Aaron Rex taking on Eddie Edwards, filling in for an injured Drew Galloway to determine the first TNA Grand Champion. I think the concept of this Grand Championship match with the 3 rounds and the time limits and the scoring, I think it has legs. I think it can be done well, but to me on Sunday night, it ended super arbitrary. I think for a match that was that even, I think it just kind of fell flat, having it kind of go to a judge's decision, especially the fact that the scoring was so close every round, to me was a little unbelievable. The fact it was off by a point each round, 10-9, 9-10, 10-9, and then it goes to Aaron Rex at the end. That didn't jive with me much at all. And so again, I thought it was an okay match for what it was, and if you didn't have the breaks and you didn't have the split decision with the judge at the end, I thought it would have been a very good match. But to me, it kind of bogged it down for me. I thought that, again, the finish of Aaron Rex winning the championship was a bit arbitrary to me. Be that as it may, I think Aaron Rex, congratulations to him for doing what he could not do in WWE, and that's win a singles title. Gail Kim getting inducted into what Josh Matthews kept calling the prestigious TNA Hall of Fame, followed up with her later in the night winning the Knockouts Championship again after beating Maria Kanellis in a fun little match, kind of a 1-2 punch. Great night for Gail Kim. Congratulations to her on her accomplishments. The one thing I thought was it stuck in my craw during the talking segment, the Hall of Fame induction, was the fact that they had this very obvious crowd noise piped in as well. This also happened during some backstage segments as well, some interview segments. To me, it was just, I was getting night terrors. I was getting like flashbacks to Grandmasters of Wrestling Volume 2 with the very obvious crowd noise. I thought, the match with Maria, I thought it was great storytelling. Maria kind of wanting to back out of the match because she was hurt. And then, of course, she gets in the match. And it was a fun little match. Gail Kim wins. Mike Bennett cuts a promo. He's angry because he lost to Moose earlier in the night, which then led to the TNA debut of Cody and Brandy Rhodes, as they're collectively known, so Cody can get away with being called Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes showing up in his Lone Star jacket. He hits the beautiful disaster on Mike Bennett, and now this is clearly what his first rivalry is going to be as part of TNA. We'll see where this goes for Cody. The Great War for the TNA Tag Team Championships. This match was just so fun to watch from beginning to end. And you know my thoughts by this point, how I feel about the Hardys and the stuff they did with Final Deletion and Delete or Decay. This was just basically another version of that. 90% of the match was pre-taped whenever they did it, like the night before, like 2 in the morning or something in the Universal lot. But you had Inchweed, and you had Willow, and you had Thumbtacks and Barbed Wire, and you had Vanguard 1 coming back, and more mist being sprayed. It was just more wackiness, more absurdity, more craziness from the Hardys and from Decay. This was a fun match to watch, I'm not going to lie. The highlight for me, for Bound for Glory, for a lot of fans too, from what I've been able to ascertain. The Hardys going over, and it was, again, a lot of fun to watch. Puts a nice exclamation point on the feud between the Hardys and Decay, and we'll see where this goes for Broken Matt and Brother Nero from here. And by the way, I did enjoy the intro they had. That was great too. Rebby's V1 Hardy Boys, the tie-in with her piano recital at the beginning. I don't know if you heard that I marked out for that. That was great. So from beginning to end, the whole Great War segment was great. EC3 versus Lashley for the TNA Championship. Again, not much I can say about this in terms of the feud, because I don't really know much about it, but I will say that as someone who, the bulk of my exposure to Bobby Lashley was through his WWE run, and I haven't seen much of his stuff in TNA, I will say I really enjoyed this match. I think he's grown and evolved so much as a performer. When he was in WWE, he bored me to death, but seeing the stuff like his promo stuff in the hype package and this match in particular was a lot of fun. It was like a different person. I think a lot changes in 10 years or so. But I think it was a fun physical match. I thought the stuff they did on the outside, the TK3 on the steps, looked pretty brutal. EC3 yelling, "You piece of shit," super audibly as the whole crowd could hear. I thought that was pretty funny. The spear that Lashley did during the introductions, to get extra heat going into the match, I thought was great. The super spear finish I thought was fun to watch too. So again, not much I can say about the storyline and the feud and everything. I get that Bobby Lashley's playing heel and he's just being super dominant because he was the one who combined all 3 of the titles. Then he dropped them, that sort of thing. But that's the most of what I know about Lashley. That basically his winning all 3 titles and then abandoning 2 of them led to the Grand Championship. That's the bulk of what I know about Lashley at this point. So like I said at the top of the show, as someone who doesn't know much about what's going on in TNA as far as the TV product goes, someone with no expectations. I wasn't expecting Vincent Mann to come power walking down the ramp going, "I own TNA. The fate is in my hands." I didn't expect any of that. I kind of went into it saying, okay, well, if this is their swan song, I want to see it. I saw people on Twitter going about how bad the show was and they didn't like it. And I mean, as someone like me, again, who went in with no expectations, I thought it was fine. I thought it was a very enjoyable show. Not everything about it was amazing. I thought the gauntlet match was meh. The crowd noise, the piped in stuff during some promos kind of took me out of it. But the wrestling itself was fine. I don't think anyone botched terribly that I could tell. No one suffered a terrible injury in the ring. So I thought it was okay. It was a fine show. Fine pay-per-view event. Again, as someone who's completely uneducated into what TNA's doing, I think it was kind of a good introduction because I saw, okay, here are these people. I get why they're fighting. The hype packages were done very well, in my opinion. They got me interested in these matches, which is their job. So will I keep watching TNA as a result of this? Maybe. It might not be part of my job. I don't think between the Raws and SmackDowns every week, the pay-per-views every 2 weeks, then trying to review Impact as well, I think that's kind of overload for me. But I think, if I have the time, I will sit down and pencil in some time to watch Impact every once in a while, as long as the show keeps going on. And but I think Bound for Glory was a fine show, in my opinion. Now the topic that a lot of people have been asking me to discuss for the last several days, TNA's financial woes. The fact that Bound for Glory almost didn't happen this Sunday. These TV tapings for this week almost didn't happen, if not for this last-minute influx of cash, which, to the best of my knowledge, I'm not sure where it came from. I don't think anyone's really made an announcement about it yet. The fact is, we don't know where the money came from or what's next. How long is this money going to last? How many more times are we going to keep getting this very scary 2 minutes to midnight kind of story where we don't know if TNA is going to last another day or not? As easy as it is to make fun of TNA and their storylines and their management, at the end of the day, the worst thing that could happen is if TNA goes under. I've said that before in my show. The worst thing that could happen is if they just go under or WWE buys them out, because, as a wrestling community, as fans, as workers, as whatever, to have one less place to have exposure, one less place as an outlet for fans to watch, I think it's a bad thing for the whole business if there's fewer places out there. Monopolies are not a good thing in any market, let alone wrestling. wrestling. And I think if WWE buys out TNA, that would be a very unfortunate way for things to end. So guys, let me know what you thought about Bound for Glory if you saw it. Let me know what you think. What's going to happen with TNA in the grand scheme of things? How much longer can this go on? What's the fate of TNA going to be in your opinion? Let me know in the comment section below. Be sure to thumbs up this video if you like it, subscribe to Wrestling with Regret, and buy the t-shirts at ProWrestlingTees.com. I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you next time.